Hello, my astrology friends. This is Lada from astrolada.com, and today I'm excited to present to you a new astrologer on the Astrolada team who I've known for the last couple of years. I observed her progress. I always act like that with anyone I introduce you. I first watch them for a bit, and I was really impressed when she did a reading for me, like she was looking into my soul. Her name is Mila. Hello, Mila.
Hello, Lada. Thank you for the opportunity.
And I'm very excited to present you Mila. She is an evolutionary astrologer. She's from Slovakia, but lives all over the world, Mexico. Every time I hear her, she's in a different part of the world. And we're going to be talking about evolutionary astrology. This is the past of the soul and the future compass of the soul. What the soul wants to do in this lifetime and where it's coming from so it can find its true north. So Mila, tell us more about this.
Evolutionary astrology is like the baby astrology because it hasn't been around all that long. So it's been kind of downloaded by Jeffrey Wolf Green in the 70s. And yeah, to me, from my understanding, this is the astrology of the Pluto in Aquarius time because it's so revolutionary. And I feel that the traditional astrology it supports people, but people are looking for more. Now people are looking for how to empower themselves. And when I started studying astrology, I was super excited and it completely resonated with me. But I am very investigative kind of person. I have Pluto in Scorpio. I'm Pluto in Scorpio generation, so I want to dig deep and get to the core of it. And it wasn't answering my question why. So I was like, okay, but why? I remember my grandfather used to say, oh, you should be a journalist because you keep asking why all the time. And then when I came across evolutionary astrology, that's exactly what it does, because Pluto goes so deep and it answers all your questions why. And I was literally like, this is what I've been looking for. And for me, it gave me so much validation by understanding why I'm here, why I was born into the family and environment I was born into, and what's the whole point of that. And it gave me so much validation and a sense of like control over my life. For the first time, I felt like actually nothing in my life happened by accident. Nothing is random, and there is a like reason for that. And I chose it prior to my incarnation, and it made me feel self-empowered. And I felt like, wow, like this is what people need to know. This is what they need to hear, rather than to just go to astrologer to tell them what to do, to help them understand who they are and why they are like that, and how they can use this understanding to actually make choices that are in alignment with themselves and make them feel self-empowered, make them feel in control of their lives, like, you know, they are the drivers of their vessel. And that's why I felt that evolutionary astrology is really a gift from the universe for exactly this time of transformation which we are facing as a collective right now.
I would also consider myself an evolutionary astrologer because all type of astrology is a bit fatalistic. It's like, oh, you're not gonna have children, oh, you're never gonna get married, or but evolutionary astrology, like you said, empowers you, tells you where you're coming from, where you're heading, what's the purpose, why are certain things happening in your life, and that gives you free will, choice, and seeing that you participated in this process and you want this. So yeah,
Exactly.
so can you tell us the foundations of evolutionary astrology? And by the way, Mila is offering a wider range of readings. If anyone is interested to have a reading with her, I'll put a link below. But when I had a reading with her, it was like she was looking into my soul. And I don't get easily impressed because I speak with hundreds of astrologers. And you know, it's hard to impress me. And I was like, whoa, okay. She was like, it was 40 minutes chock block full of information that I was like, and you were picking up from everywhere in the chart. It was beautiful. But can you tell us the foundations of, and maybe give us a few examples?
Yes, of course. Evolutionary astrology centers around Pluto because Pluto is the sole desire for incarnation. So the core message here is people need to believe in incarnation and multiple lifetimes, because if they know that this doesn't make any sense to them. But from the evolutionary point of view, this lifetime is just a chapter in a book. The soul is on its continuous journey through growth and evolution, just like in the tarot, the full journey. And in evolutionary astrology, the chart centers around Pluto. Pluto is the most important thing in the chart because the Pluto represents our soul desires for incarnation. So why are we here? Why did we want to be born? What did we want to experience? Where we coming from? And what the soul is working on to either finish or start or is in a process of working on? And what is the evolutionary potential? Where we heading? And for that, we use the nodes of the moon, the south node and the north node. The south node tells us a lot about the past lives and also about our early upbringing in this lifetime, because in majority of the cases, from my experience with the clients that I did the reading for, we are usually born into the environment which represents the polarity to what the soul wants to grow into. So we're born into this family and we go like, this is what I don't want. And then we have to find a way how to become something different, and we search. The soul is soul searching. And then the north node is the evolutionary potential. So the chart is like our map, but because we have a free will, it's an evolutionary potential. So it's not like it's guaranteed to happen, or like with astrology, it's prediction that this is, what's going to happen for you and stuff. With evolutionary astrology, it's a potential. So you have a free will. The soul decides, we can always change the course of action, but it gives us kind of an idea. And as I said, to understand where we came from, it gives us more sense of empowerment to make a potentially different choice, or to feel that we can make a different choice, that we actually have the control to change the course of our lives. And then, of course, we look at the rulers, because then they give us more information how these nodes are being navigated. And the houses where the nodes are very important, because that's usually where the karma lies, the house.
And what would you say? Like, is it Pluto that chose the karma, or is it the nodes? Which one is like? How are they connected?
So Pluto is our subconscious desire. So because Pluto is the planet that is farthest away from the sun. So from Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, we cannot see the planets with the naked eye. We need the telescope. So this represents our subconscious. So most of the people, they are not consciously aware of their Pluto, like, okay, this was my soul's desire, this is what I came here to do. So these nodes, they help us to become consciously aware. So like through our upbringing, through our, like early environment in our life, we kind of get the conscious understanding where we're coming from as the soul. So Pluto is the subconscious desire. Then we have the nodes that help us to like navigate like a compass. And then actually it's Mars that takes the action. So Mars is kind of like this soldier that creates the conscious action of the desire. So Pluto is the subconscious desire, and Mars is the instinctual desire. So is the conscious, is the like, okay, this is how I'm going to manifest that unconscious desire. And the nodes are the process of understanding that from the subconscious to the conscious.
Can you give us an example with a few charts?
Yeah, of course. I have actually 5 charts ready.
All right, great. Oh, let me make you a co-host.
Oh yeah, thank you.
So you can share. Okay.
Okie doke. Oh, I'm actually not quite sure, because I have it on mine, but I'm not quite sure whether. I think I'm sharing like your background of the computer.
Ah, seriously? What is on my background? I don't see anything. I don't see anything shared.
Yeah.
You can choose when you start sharing desktop or whiteboard.
Okay, I have it here now. Okay, sorry about that.
Okay, perfect.
Okie doke. So we have a chart. So actually, this is my personal chart, which I never ever share. So this is like a premiere of my chart in the ether. So we have Pluto here. So I personally am part of the Pluto in Scorpio generation. So here is the south node. So this, so as we can see, Pluto is in the 9th house. So this is the karma. So ninth house in evolutionary astrology represents our belief system. So in evolutionary astrology, the planet, the house, and the sign, the planet that rules the sign, and the house represents one archetype. So in this case, ninth house is the Sagittarius archetype. So I also have like the overlay of Pluto in Sagittarius generation, even though I'm Pluto in Scorpio generation. So my Pluto is in the ninth house in Scorpio. So my soul's designer for incarnation is self-empowerment, because Pluto in Scorpio is like a double Pluto, double Scorpio, because it's the same archetype, and it's in the ninth house. So it's something to do with the belief system. So, you know, the perception, how I perceive the reality, what I believe, what I'm attached to. So there is something to do with my belief system that makes me feel disempowered, because the South Node is in Scorpio. So South Node represents our past life and also my early upbringing. So also ninth house represents, you know, like the foreign countries, but also like culture, philosophy, religion. So I was born in Slovakia. Actually, when I was born, it was still Soviet Union. It was, you know, all these kind of things going on here. And so I was born into the culture and, you know, also religion, very strictly Catholic, which was making people feel restricted. Also, as you can see, my Saturn is right there. So it's all part
God
of the
is
same.
cruel. God will punish you. God is watching every move you have, kind of.
Exactly. So it is all part of the same mix. So we can see it here very clearly that soul just decided, okay, I'm going to drop you in a similar environment, potentially what I've gone through in my past lifetime. So again, it was something that was making feel the soul disempowered based on either religion, culture, or any of these Sagittarian topics. And that was also my early childhood. And you know, as soon as I hit 19-year-old, I left. I never felt that this is where I belong. I never identified myself with this culture, religion, nothing. I rejected all of that. And then, as we can see, of course, the ruler of the South Node is Pluto. So my life is very deeply conditioned by Plutonic themes, a lot of abandonment, betrayal, you know, sense of disempowerment, like my hands are tied because of where I come from, or all this conditioning. And then when we look at the opposite, which is the Taurus house, and is actually the third house, it is ruled by Aries, but you know, my North Node is in Taurus. The resolution to this is Gemini archetype. So seeking, learning, gathering information, but the point of it is to become self-sufficient, to be able to create for myself what I need, and that will work towards me feeling more self-empowered. Because, you know, having like somebody else is having control over me because of the religion, culture, all that is making me feel disempowered. So how am I going to feel empowered is by getting out of the box, seeking new information. So the complete opposite, like a, you know, Aries energy, fresh start, because Aries is a new beginning, is the beginning of the zodiac, is the beginning of a new cycle. And, you know, the whole intention is to become Taurian, so become, and also because my sun is there, so the sun is shining there just to make sure that I understand what's going on here. It's like, okay, you have to learn to create your own, your own whatever you need for survival, but also to identify what are my needs. What are my needs and how am I going to meet them? Because Taurus represents not just everything that we need for survival, but it's also your self-worth and also your self-love. So that's actually the bottom line of everything to do with Taurus, because if you don't feel worthy and if you don't feel you deserve, then it's going to be very hard for people to actually accumulate anything that they need if they don't feel that they deserve to have it. So this is pretty much the story of my life. You know, this is where I've been working towards.
I can, looking at the Saturn with the South Node and Pluto and Scorpio in the ninth house, there was for me some religious persecution of you. You were killed as a witch, you were burned at the stake, because Pluto, the planet of death, Saturn, the planet of death, and Pluto is planet of persecution, Scorpio as well, South Node. It's very traumatic. Wherever you come from in past lifetimes, there was death, and it was due to your belief systems, and it was very restrictive in some way. And now look at this beautiful north node with the sun. It's very helpful when you have planets with the north node, because they pull you towards your destiny. and you have Mars there as well. So the two masculine planets are pushing in. I think in this lifetime you need to find security with this Taurus, like because you come from such catastrophic background, you have to create safe haven for you. That's how I see it. And you're gonna do it through learning as well, through communication, through learning exactly what you said. Look, you have Jupiter on your sun now.
Yes,
And
yes.
the North Node, both together.
And the conjunction that's happening actually today as we're recording, the Jupiter North Node conjunction is happening in conjunction with my sun. So
Absolutely.
yeah, but you see, I have my Jupiter in my first house, so that's always been my angel guardian. I've always been guided. But actually, in evolutionary astrology, this is for another conversation. But there is a thing that is called square to the nodes, and I have Jupiter square in my nodes, which again is underlying this Sagittarian archetype, like you said, the prosecution because of potentially religion or religious beliefs. And that's why I have, Capricorn on my 12th house. Like, okay, we are done with all this structure and all definition of reality because 12th house is the end of the cycle. So yeah, like my chart makes much more sense to me now. And it just gave me so much peace in a sense, like understanding this. And because I went through my situation, so I know what I went through. And rather than feeling as a victim of circumstances, understanding this, it gives me a sense of peace and really like not power in a sense I want to go and control the people here, but it allowed me to took my power back. Like rather than feel like, oh, this happened to me, I
Yeah.
now understand it happened for me. And this is why I found evolutionary astrology to be so helpful towards my healing. And I know through working with other people that I was able to help them to find the same which I found through this modality, that also they through understanding their own chart, they actually achieved the peace within themselves, which was the beginning of the healing process, because suddenly everything fell into place and made much more sense. And rather than, as I mentioned, they feeling as a victim of circumstances, suddenly there was a validation for that experience, that human experience. And it shifts something within a person to have that understanding that, in a sense, how they say that if we cannot go back to change the past, but if we change our perception of the past, in a sense, we change in the past, because suddenly the past cannot have the same impact on us and control us in the same way anymore.
Exactly. That's what the psychologists do. They reframe the past in your head. Can you share some other charts? I'm excited to
Yes,
see
yes,
them.
yes. I have more. So
Oh,
this
look
is
at all those trines.
yeah, this is actually chart of my dad. You would think like, oh my God, he's so lucky. He has all this going on here. But as I said, there is always a free will in a play here. So as we can see, another Pluto in 9th house theme. So it's very interesting that the karma has been passed on, because my dad, from understanding his chart and his path, he was not able to self-actualize in a way which I think that Pluto wanted to self-actualize. And then he passed it on to me. He wasn't able to liberate himself in the same way. So now he was like, okay, I've chosen a different path how to manifest my Pluto. So I pass it on to my children now. So it's very interesting how sometimes things get passed on from one generation to another.
Always, always.
And
Everything we haven't worked through gets passed.
yeah, exactly. And he also has the Jupiter in a first house Sagittarius, but for him it's showing up in a very different way. And I'm sure that you met people who think my truth is the only truth. Jupiter in Sagittarius first house, this is the only truth. That's it. No other truth is out there.
So he's one of those.
My dad is
My
one
dad.
of those. Yes, yes, yes. So, like he's got a Pluto in a 9th house and with the North Node right there, but he didn't choose to heal the Virgo in that way, in a high vibrational way. He's still choosing to remain in the Pisces, in the victimhood mentality, like, it's happening to me, not for me. So, I was given similar path and I have chosen to transmute it in a different way. I flip it on its head. But it's very interesting, the dynamics, how the charts work and how they get passed on to the next generation for a different manifestation of the energy.
What would be a healthy manifestation for this chart?
So, for example, my dad could have been, like he could have healed that trauma. He could have, rather than feeling as a victim of the circumstances, perhaps if he would have chosen, to open himself up to a different philosophies or cultures, where he would use the Sagittarius archetype in the mutable way, that I understand that there are different definitions of truth, because majority of the truth is a subjective perception of reality. That's what I usually try to make people aware of, that there is something that is called universal truth, like the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect, and which is karma practically. But majority of what we define as truth is actually a subjective perception of reality. It's not the universal truth. It depends on who is saying the story, and it's true for me, but it might not be true for someone else. So if people use the Sagittarius archetype in a high vibration, usually they are very open-minded people, and they go, study all different things, and then they understand that everything is truth and everything is lie at the same time. It really depends on the person, and just to accept that just because I have a different truth, it doesn't make me right or wrong, but I still accept that you have your truth. So everybody has their truth, and it's perfectly fine, because it doesn't change anything for me. Like I respect myself and I respect you, and if people kind of were that way, then the world would be a different place, because we all have the right to have our own truth, whatever that is. But as I said, my dad, he kind of he thinks that his truth is the only truth. So there is no such a thing as multiple truths. There is just one truth, and it's his truth, and that's it. And it's also the healing of the Virgo, because Virgo is the healer, and the sixth house is the Virgo archetype, is ruled by Taurus, and his second house, which is the Taurus archetype, is ruled by Capricorn. We can see there is the Saturn, Saturn in Capricorn, and on the cusp of the seventh house. So there is a lot of trauma with regards to self-love and self-worth. And this is something which I can observe from, what my dad is at, the stage he's at, and being now 64 actually, and I can say that is something that still has not been healed. So it has a lot. It has a lot to do with, as I said, that's pretty much the feeling of self-worth and deserving impacts a lot of things in our life, and also our relationships. And with this North Node in Virgo and being in the ninth house, actually it is ruled by Leo. So Leo archetype is about self-actualization, creative self-actualization, but it's also this childlike inner child energy. So as you can see, the Uranus is there. So there is definitely a trauma with regards to childhood and inner child. Inner child healing was required. But I don't come from a family where they were seeking this kind of knowledge or this kind of assistance, and also because of how these generations were brought up, they didn't have access to the same tools we have access now. So as I said, it has not been actualized in that way. Whereas the Virgo, my dad wasn't able to go and self-actualize and do what he wanted to do, and like feed his inner child, take care of his needs, and redefine what was important for him. But he chose the life of service. The Virgo is actually it's an intercepted house, so it's unconscious. But it was not to heal himself, just to serve. So to be do what you are required to do, but actually actually if you want to go deeper, when the nodes are in a Virgo and Pisces archetype, this is a collective wound, because it's the reflection of the 2000 years of Pisces age, which was very, very deeply conditioned by the Catholic Church. So you're not good enough, you should be feeling guilty and ashamed. If you do something for yourself, you're supposed to be of service. This conditioning of the 2000 years of Pisces. And most of the people that I see with either Pluto in Virgo and Pisces, or the nodes in Virgo and Pisces, or nodes with in the 6th or 12th house, they are very deeply conditioned by this 2000 years of Pisces kind of upbringing. And also we all feel it collective to a certain level, but to me this people with this kind of placements in their chart, they feel it even deeper, on a deeper level, this inherent feeling of guilt and shame and not good enough, and we need to be of service to others at any cost, even if we have to sacrifice. And yeah, and then that requires a lot of healing, and if that healing doesn't take place, then it kind of manifests as a lot of resentment, whether it's towards ourselves or towards people around us. But that could be a completely different deep rabbit hole. But yeah, I completely understand. And also, having read charts for my family, I have much deeper understanding of their soul's path, and it's much easier to be then compassionate, because you then don't just see like, oh, this is what you've done, and blah blah blah, but you actually understand that, okay, the soul is working on this and this and this, and you just accept that. They are also just a divine being having a human experience, doing the best they can with what they know right now. So that's another thing that, any kind of healing modality, whether it's evolutionary astrology, normal astrology, or whatever healing modality, at the end of the day, it helps us to reconnect with ourselves, with the source, and it gives us a much deeper understanding of what this, life is really about.
Perfect. Can we see another chart?
Yeah, actually, this is the most interesting one. Let me see. Yeah, this is the right one. So this is the chart of my nephew. So as you can see, he's the Pluto Capricorn generation. And to me, this is just fascinating, because as you know yourself, Lada, and I have to say, I loved your Pluto through generation video that you posted a few months ago. To me, that was so beautiful, because I'm fascinated with Pluto, as you know. And my nephew is the Pluto in Capricorn generation. So these are the new leaders. They were leaders in the past, and they're going to be the builders of the new earth. And he's in the 5th house. So it's all to do with the Leo archetype, self-actualization. Having the Capricorn in the 5th house, he's going to be redefining, this new world, and how we going to be able to live in a future, where we can actually do what we came here to do, be fully in our authenticity. So like the Leo archetype and the Capricorn archetype together, to me, that's amazing, because it's like building your new definition of reality on your true authentic self, what you really came here to do. And his south node is in Sagittarius in a 4th house. So that's on 29 degrees, which is, as we know, karmic degrees, is the analytic degrees. And actually, he also has Saturn on a 29 degrees. So, this definitely is and the north node is, so this is really special. And having it in a Sagittarius 29 degrees, that's very positive for me, because it's making the end of the cycle with all this Sagittarian theme, my dad, myself, and now my nephew. So it's like I'm ending that cycle, this identification with this old religion and this culture and how things should be done. I'm ending all that. This is where I came from. This is not part of my future, because look at that. It's a Gemini 10th house. So he's identifying this new way, like 10th house is the Capricorn archetype. So having it in Gemini, these children, like I'm not saying just my nephew, but generally these children, Capricorn, Pluto Capricorn, their generation, they're gonna find out the new ways. They're gonna identify a new way of building a world, of structuring reality. And I'm sure you know it yourself, because you have 2 of those at home yourself, 2 little Pluto in Capricorns.
Boss babies. Thank you very much.
Yes, and that's amazing for me. And also because the south node is ruled by Jupiter. As you can see, Jupiter is right there with the Pluto, and is in a closing phase, because it's on 22 degrees. Pluto is on 23. So this is, just before the conjunction happened, balsamic closing phase. So this is again closing of the cycle, 29 degrees south node. So that's a repeating theme here. And the ruler of the north node is Mercury. And Mercury is in conjunction with the north node. So, and the Mercury is actually in the 11th house, which is the house of liberation. So he's liberating his identity, and him being also a Cancer sun, that's where his sun is shining. So he's liberating himself from this old definition of who he is, where he came from. And also he's going to identify like other people apart from his family as a soul tribe. So this is again the evolution, where we actually not limiting ourselves to just blood family as family, but this is the Aquarian age, that, you know, we becoming more humanitarian. We are actually going to erase these borders and these kind of things that are keeping us separate. Like these new kids, even Pluto in Sag and now Pluto in Capricorns, and these upcoming kids, Pluto in Aquarius generation, they will not see this separation that, oh, we,
No,
you
these
know,
are
you
very
are this, you are
universal.
that.
Yeah, these signs from Sagittarius onwards to Pisces, they're above above segregation and
Yeah, they are completely transcending that. They transcending that definition of what the old world was about, that people need to be kind of labeled, that we need to put all these labels, which just create separation. And that's pretty much what the whole Pisces age was about, because, you know, any sort of religion, and without trying to get into triggering topics, but it causes division. It doesn't matter what it is, it causes division. And these most recent generation, they are transcending that. For them, there is no such a thing as separation. So I think that's just so amazing. And as I said, having the North Node, Pluto polarity point is the 11th house. So that's all about Aquarius archetype, liberation, also finding the safety and security within potentially these new communities, this new way of living, and finding the soul family or people that we are in resonance with, to be actually familiar with and feel safe and secure with, that it doesn't have to be just our family, like blood family as we were brought up in our previous generations. And also having the North Node in the 10th house, as I said, these are the children that's gonna become their own authority, that they're not going to be looking up to someone else to tell them what to do. They are the Pluto Capricorns, so they are the authority. They're born to rule the
and there is
world,
a
pretty much.
double whammy here: Pluto in Capricorn, which is the authority, and the North Node in the 10th house, which is again you forge your own authority. And here, how would you connect the work? Like, does Pluto indicate past lifetimes as well?
Well, Pluto is the soul desire for incarnation, so it's pretty much the soul. So it's like, well, they say it's like subconscious, but I think it's in a sense timeless, because the soul is timeless. So it's more like the South Node, which identified the past lives as such.
Okay, yeah. Interesting. Well, thank you so much, Mila. I would love to dive further with you on. You said next time we can talk about skip steps that are shown in evolutionary astrology. What steps did you skip in past lifetimes? So that would be
Well,
another fascinating topic for us to discuss.
like for me personally, that was Jupiter. So that's why I'm so obsessed with these Sagittarius themes, because the skipped
Knowledge.
steps is something that the soul didn't pay that much attention to. So that's why it's the square to the nodes, you know, is the
Okay.
skip step, because it's like something that we really have to focus on, because it causes a lot of pressure, as the squares do. They cause a lot of pressure, as collectively right now we're going through Pluto square in the nodes at the moment in the sky, and it will remain to do so for the remainder of the year. And that's why there is so much tension. A lot of people are experiencing a lot of tension or potential sense of crisis. They might not even consciously know why that is, and they feel something needs to change, like something needs to kind of be adjusted, because it's causing this boiling point in a sense. And currently in the sky for the entire collective, Pluto is the one squaring the node. So it's saying,
Wow.
hey, you know, we need to make adjustment to kind of lead towards this Aquarian age of self-empowerment, and, you know, like where you are individuating and feeling more free to be yourself. So in order for that to happen, the resolution node currently in the sky is the South Node, and the South Node is in Scorpio at the moment still. So that means we have to resolve something of the past, because Scorpio South Node is pointing to something in a past
Past
that is
trauma.
making us feel not in control fully. So
Yeah.
we need to identify what it is and take steps towards taking the power back.
So you're saying these times are very karmic and very evolutionary right now with Pluto and the node squaring, because these are the two indicators of karma and evolution, Pluto and the node. So this is very, like, a lot of people taking some pivotal decisions in their life or are forced. There might be a lot of crisis happening and people forced to take some life big life decision. It's all squaring my ascendant, like they're squaring and opposing my and conjunct my ascendant, Pluto on my ascendant, the node square. So I feel exactly like I'm at this juncture exactly
Mhm.
right now. And it's I thought I'd be scared, but it's liberating. It's almost like that's what my soul has always wanted, and I'm going in that
Yes.
direction. It's and like I have no choice but to go. And I've always like, I don't want to still go there. Give me a bit more time. But now it's like I have no choice.
But
And
it's
I'm so grateful,
But
actually.
it's also because you've just had the Pluto square Pluto. You because you Pluto Libra generation. So you just as Pluto has been going through the end degrees of Capricorn, you had the transit in Pluto square in your natal Pluto in Libra, and that's the death of ego.
Oh,
Like when Pluto squares Pluto, because I don't know about anybody who's gone through the whole Pluto cycle. Obviously, like most people don't even have Pluto return. Majority of people, if they're lucky, they live up to Pluto trine. But most people go through Pluto square Pluto, which is the end of 30s. And that's what my teacher usually says, or what he used to say to me when I ask about it, because that's what I'm approaching myself, because I'm Aquarius rising as well, and Pluto is entering Aquarius for good 20 years. Well, I mean, it's there currently, but it's moving back into Capricorn shortly on June 11th. But from next year, for 20 years, it will be an Aquarius, and eventually it's going to square my natal Pluto, which is on 3 degrees. And this is what they say, it's like a death of ego. So everything that doesn't kind of serve us anymore and doesn't make us feel empowered is just going to go through this crisis and will have to be eliminated, like Scorpio elimination, right? And it's not an easy process. I mean, it's nothing laughable about it, because usually it doesn't, like you say, at the end of it, like it's, as if things are eliminated, we feel better for it, but the process is not necessarily easy or pleasant. And this is what we're going through collectively right now, because Pluto is squaring the nodes. And to answer your initial question, when you asked me whether this is karmic, absolutely. And I personally feel that this is the main transitionary point, because I felt with this double new moon in Aries. I mean, how often does this happen? I don't think it's very often. And we had double new moon in Aries, and second of those two was the solar eclipse. And actually, the first one happened on 0 degrees, the second on 29 degrees, which is the anaretic degrees again. So to me, this was an activation point. And again, we have the nodes shifting into Aries, Libra, axes this summer, which again, those are the relationship axes. Again, Aries, North Node in Aries is about new beginning. And then Pluto, still going back and forth, dipping its toes for the first time into Aquarius and then going back into Capricorn. This is literally like the year of, let me give you a little preview of what are we here to expect, but then I need to retrieve, because you guys need to adjust to this energy. And then when Pluto goes back into Aquarius, because Aquarius is acceleration. So I feel that, well, none of us really knows what's going to hit us, because like it's not like we've gone through this before, exactly with this planetary positioning that we have going on in the sky right now. But by 2026, all these main players, Uranus, Neptune, Pluto, Chiron, will change signs. So I feel personally that the next 3 years are very pivotal in this shift that we're going through. And this year is the activation point, which this is what I've been sharing in my videos, that the first half of the year until about this point, it's been more of an internal energy, very feminine energy, very yin, a lot of planets in the feminine signs. And now things are shifting. Planets are going into air signs and fire signs. And then when the nodes will move from the feminine signs of earth and water, Scorpio and Taurus, into fire sign of Aries and the air sign of Libra, which are masculine sign, I feel it will be more of a action time. More and more people will feel like, okay, now I really have to do something. And this Pluto square in nodes, it will push people.
Yeah, wonderful. Not easy, but wonderful. Thank you so much for this take on the current influences, Mila. That was very illuminating from evolutionary perspective. Again, I welcome you to the team. If anyone would like to connect with Mila, she's offering like 20 types of readings. Start always with the simplest. Start with the simplest. uh, they're all through the eyes of evolutionary astrology. I'll put a link below for her services. Anyone who is interested to contact her. And hopefully we'll have you again soon for another interview.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Have a great time. Have a great day, everyone.